The bat tracking stuff is cool. It's not new to the baseball industry. They're hitting labs where you've got the attached, ping pong balls. That's a little bit different than what you're seeing in a game setting, right? Your swing in a lab is different than your swing in the ninth inning against Emmanuel Clase or whatever.
Mike Petriello joining us on FT Live. Spoke to him this offseason. Happy to have him back here for a little checkup on some stats and notes and all the great tweets that Mike puts out to the world at Mike_Petriello. Mike, great to catch up with you. Actually, quick question before we dive into everything else, just based off what we were talking about. Chapman chucks the glove, and many people on social were like, ball's not carrying the same way. I mean, you're pretty dialed in on that stuff on a year-to-year basis. Are you seeing anything different with the flight of the baseball this year versus last year, et cetera? I know it's not what was the year, 2019 or something like that, which was the opposite effect. But any chatter going on there about how the ball's traveling?
Yes. I can't say I saw that play last night because I was at the Yankee game. So I watched that one for the first time while you did, which was pretty
Humble
fun.
brag.
I got to see Louis Gilroy. It was great. So that was fun. I liked watching Chapman do that. It's a tough conversation every year, I think, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is I think in 2019 you saw that the ball was definitely flying, right? Homers left and right. I think people, not everybody, but a lot of people always try to compare partial season to full season, right? If you're going to compare year to year, you got to only compare the same time period last year because we know the ball flies more in July. Not everybody does that. I also think this conversation comes up a lot every year. And part of that, people seem to think that, let's say, up until 2015 or so, that the ball was 100% consistent since 1855 or whatever. And I think all that's changed is we just have the tools to know about it. You go back to some really weird Homer years, 1930, 1987, whatever. I feel like this has probably been a somewhat inconsistent ball for like the entire history of the sport. We pay a little bit more attention to it now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I played the 1 year and everybody said the ball was flying too far, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. It's baseball in a nutshell. Major League Baseball needs to figure it out. My question to you, I know we're a little closer to the deadline coming up. I know you're not the rumor guy or anything, but have you heard anything about, maybe some sellers, some traders, some anything going on as we move forward here?
Well, I think you're going to have maybe a little bit of an issue this year with the deadline, just in the sense that there are so many teams still within, sniffing distance of a wild card spot. I think I read this morning it was 24 of 30 teams are within 4 games. It doesn't mean they're all going to be competitors. And some of the teams at the bottom, you're just not going to get much from, right? The Rockies never want to sell. Some of the other teams, they're just there because they're not very good shape. So for me, you can't really answer that question yet because we're still a month away, and some of those on the bubble teams will tell you a lot more about who they are in the next couple of weeks, right? Teams you might not think would be sellers right
Yeah.
now will be later on. I really would like to think that some of those teams would be a little more aggressive about selling than they've been in the past. Like we talk, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this too, right? Pete Alonso is going to be a huge name at the deadline. Will they sell him? Will they keep him? And what I don't think enough people are realizing is because of where their payroll is, if he gets a qualifying offer and he walks, they get a fourth round pick, which isn't nothing, but it's pretty close to nothing. So that's not really incentive to keep him. And if they're out of it, especially you've got a new president of baseball ups there in Stearns who is new and didn't draft any of these guys, I feel like they might be a little more aggressive about it than people might think.
Okay. So how long has it been since the Royals have been this good?
Well, I guess since they were in the World Series, although it's
Oh,
interesting, I
yeah.
wrote
No.
about. Yeah, well, I wrote about them a lot. The way I put it was, I believe in them 70%, and it's like 30% fraud. And the reason for that is they right now, hey, that's the article I wrote. Thank you. The right now their bullpen has the lowest strikeout rate of any bullpen in any season since 2014. And that's no way to live. Like you cannot get through a season like that. And you're already starting to see it. The bullpen had like a 3.10 ERA the first month, and it's like 5.60 or whatever since. That's not going to work. And so what I think has happened with them is if you go back to last winter, everybody on the planet, players, nerds, you name it, everybody's like, this team's going to be better. Absolutely, this team's going to be better. Everyone agreed they're going to go from 106 losses to 89 losses or whatever, which is a huge improvement. And then the way they played the first month was you're seeing that, and then they were just a little bit extra on top of that because the bullpen maybe outperformed. So I think they're going to maybe fall back to earth a little bit, but still be pretty good, right? Bobby Witt's a superstar. We all had questions about whether Cole Reagans could stay, healthy and productive over a full season, not over a dozen starts. It seems like he's proven he has. So there's a lot to like there. There's a very weak division, but man, they got to get 3 bullpen arms who can miss bats, or they're going to have a long summer.
Is that 100% possible, or is this another Royals bullpen? Because essentially, our 14 and 15 Royals team built what is now the bullpens that we see for the last 10 years. Have they hit on something? And I know the numbers are trending in the wrong direction, but have they hit on something in that bullpen because of the park that they play in? Half their games predicate you to letting the ball be put in play, different than, say, Philly, different than Cincinnati, different than. And is it something that they're hoping that's what happens, or do they just go all in with their starting pitching and they're like, we just don't have enough left unless Kelvin Herrera and Wade Davis come out of retirement?
It's an interesting point about the ballpark because you're right. It's a huge ballpark. I think the issue that they have there is their infield defense is really good, right? Witt is great. Michael Garcia is great. The outfield is not that great. Like it's one of the weakest all-around outfields in baseball. So I don't know that I would want to have a strategy where that ball is bouncing around the outfield unless they can get improvement out there on both sides of the ball. Even going back to the 14, 15 Royals that you referenced, when you had that trio at the end with Davis, Holland, and Herrera, right? Those guys were all fire-breathing bat missers, and so you can get by with a bullpen of some guys who like get weak contact, get the ground ball, and that's fine. But how many times have we seen it where it's like the dinky little blooper that falls for a hit, the ground ball up the middle, right? The what was it? The end of the 2001 World Series, right? Luis Gonzalez did not crush Mariano Rivera. He just got enough bat on it. You don't want to leave that to chance. There's a batting average of 0 on strikeouts, is the way I like to look at it. And when you are in the biggest spot and you don't care about exit velocity, you just care about what kind of out you get, you need to find strikeouts. So I'm with you. They don't need to have a top 5 strikeout rate in the bullpen, but you cannot have the lowest in a decade. Like that's just not going to work.
FT is headed to the MLB All-Star Game this year, and there's only one way you should be finding tickets for any ball game. SeatGeek is the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, so they have you covered for all of your baseball ticket needs.
I'm super pumped to hit the Futures game this year. That new skills competition looks electric.
I agree, Kratz. It's like the Olympics for baseball. Cannot wait to see that. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. Baseball season's in full swing, and you don't want to miss out. SeatGeek has your tickets to every game and, of course, concerts, festivals, and more.
Every ticket's backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps.
And Kratz, FT came through for the people. Use our code FOUL for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code FOUL. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app, please.
I want to go a little bit into bat path metrics, swing path, barrel control, all these things that you divulge into a lot. You break down, you analyze this. How are all these are going to affect the game and, hitters too as well? Is this just another stat for them to look at, or is it just a piece of paper like, oh, that's great, let's move on?
Yeah, we can do this as long as we also get to talk about Asbury Park. That's where I went to my first concert a million years ago. One of my favorite places.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the bat tracking stuff is cool. I think the one thing people have maybe misunderstood a little bit is that so it's new publicly as of almost exactly a month ago, right? It's not new to the baseball industry. Some of the more advanced teams have had versions of this for 5+ years, I would guess, at this point. And some of that's in a lab, right? They're hitting labs where you got the attached, ping pong balls or whatever. And that's a little bit different than what you're seeing in a game setting, right? Your swing in a lab is different than your swing in the 9th inning against Emmanuel Clase or whatever. So this isn't necessarily new to the teams, and a lot of those teams have already made decisions based on this. I think it was 2 years ago now, maybe even 3, where the Dodgers were in the postseason and Dave Roberts made a pinch hitting decision where people were confused about. He brought in, I think it was Austin Barnes, who's not a terribly strong hitter. And they're like, why did you do that? And he's like, well, his bat path, I thought, made him a better bet than, Chris Taylor's uppercut to make contact with this pitch. It didn't even work. I think he still struck out. But your teams have already started making decisions on this. What's new now is that it's public facing. So all the smart baseball people who love to do all sorts of analysis can do that. It can be on broadcasts and television. And I would imagine that some players have gone and looked at this and found it interesting. I would hope that none of them saw this for the very first time, because that means their teams haven't been giving it to them. But maybe that's true too. But really, the takeaway here is if you look at the guys who square up the ball the most, well, yeah, Luis Rise, like it's exactly who you'd expect it to be. The guys who swing the hardest, right? Stanton, Schwarber, and then out there all by himself in unicorn land is Juan Soto, who is like the only one who can do both. I didn't think I could be more impressed by him than I am. He's the only guy who swings hard. He's top 10 and has a top 10 squared up rate, which is like impossible. He's Stephen Kwan if Stephen Kwan could swing 12 miles harder.
All right, a couple things I got to hit on. You are incorrect. People that play in the game did not know this. I know there are people, and I can't say the teams because I'm throwing them under the bus, that did not divulge this information. I will not, because of the people that are on it, the easy connection. So not everybody knows this. Now, you know it in a sense of like, hey, I can tell that this guy has this type of swing. I don't like, the matchup with this high fastball at the top of the zone, his swing path, all that stuff. They know that, but not the metrics that you put out there on your Twitter page. Like, I was like, this is awesome. Like, I know. Anyway, the team is clearly where they are because of the fact that they don't give this type of information, or maybe they don't even have this information. But I want you to help that said team, because what are we not hearing about? Because a lot of fans had never really heard of this stuff. And baseball talked about it, but never used it in the biometric Hawkeye scan system stuff. What is the next wave? What is the next thing that teams are clearly already on it? Because if you're just finding out about it today, technology has known about it for at least 2 years. So what is the next wave of things that you can tell us is coming that we should pay attention to in this technology scope?
Yeah, I hate to go into pitcher talk with a pair of former hitters here, but I'll do that anyway. What teams are learning the most is, um, and you knew this obviously just by being a player and by being a human being, right? It's not one size fits all to everybody, and this is really important for pitchers, where it can't just be, oh, I want everybody to throw a splitter, so I'm going to make everybody on my staff throw a splitter. It doesn't work like that, right? Some guys get it immediately, some guys don't. And so what would happen for years and years and years, you would spend weeks, months, even years trying to teach a guy a new pitch. And now you can get to that a little bit quicker because you've got the biomechanical data where it's like, I know how your body moves, right? You've all heard the terms by now, probably pronator and supinator and all that. Everybody's body moves slightly differently. And now you can get to, you're actually not a good candidate for this kind of pitch because of the way your arm moves, the way your body moves. It's a waste to try to teach you it because it's just probably not going to work. I actually think you're a really good candidate for, a sinker or whatever, some other kind of pitch. And we've seen a lot of stories of guys like that who are just using that information, to advance their careers. And to some extent, I almost think of it as like a grip tool. Like, how many stories have you heard over the years where there's a pitcher who got successful at like 29? And he's like, yeah, I tried 40 changeup grips, and then I went back to my high school, and the groundskeeper taught me one that his grandpa used, and that was the one for me, right? You can get to that kind of stuff so much faster, and I think that's my favorite, application of all this is when you hear pitchers who are successful, or players or hitters or whoever, saying, yeah, this helped me improve my game, and I wouldn't be here without that kind of stuff. And I like that a lot.
That's a great question. Hey, I have one for you based off, a recent tweet that you put out there, Mike, on Shota Imanaga, which could kind of play to this pitcher analysis, right? I mention this often in the offseason. The amount of dissension that was out there on this pitcher was as wide of a gap as I've ever seen following the game. You had people that are like, this guy could be a 1 or a 2. And then you had people that are like, he'll be out of the rotation by July when the weather warms up and balls are flying out of Wrigley. So were you as entertained as I was this offseason? And have we learned enough yet to understand that he at least will be a serviceable starter and he has the potential to be a 1 if he keeps this up? But yes, we got a couple adjustments the last 2 starts.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what he is after last night. I don't think he's going to have a 180 ERA all season long, right? But it's two things. When he signed that deal, I saw a lot of smart baseball people being like, "Really? That's it? Like, nobody else is going to top this?" That's really surprising to me, and I agreed with that. I don't think anybody put him in the same class as Yamamoto coming over and getting this huge monster contract, but for how desperate teams are for pitchers, especially good starting pitchers, the fact that no one was willing to go higher than the Cubs did was shocking. And obviously, we know he really liked Chicago, and maybe I think I remember reading he turned down a bigger deal somewhere else because he wanted to be there. So fine, whatever. So I think it's partially a credit to the Cubs because they were out there when nobody else was, and it's partially maybe a little bit of dumb luck for the Cubs because we knew his one issue was going to be home runs, right? That's what his problem was in Japan. He would give up home runs. And he just sort of happened to get here in the 1 year where we've had a lower home runs per nine than we've had in 10 years, right? Is that because of the ball? Other factors? I don't know, but it's happening. And I don't think anybody could have predicted that. So kudo to the Cubs. And also, sometimes good luck is good strategy too.
Eric Kratz here from FT. I'm a former athlete that really pays attention to his routine. And AG1 every morning before my workouts is something that gets my day going.
Hey, Braun here. AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers daily nutrients and gut health support, and it's backed by multiple research studies so you can trust what you're putting in your body.
Unlike other products which only test their ingredients in isolation, AG1 tests their formula as a whole.
Ready for this stat? 97% of people in a research study felt more energy after 30 days of drinking AG1. If I had to recommend one product to support whole body health, it's AG1, and that's why FT is excited to have them as a new partner. Starting your journey with AG1 is a win. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/foul. That's drinkag1.com/FOUL. Go check it out, FT fam.
Last one from me. You wrote a cool article about some position players moving and playing different positions. Mookie Betts, Harper, Judge per se. There's a couple others as well. Which ones? And I know right now Judge is on a dominant tear. Mookie Betts is doing well. Harper as well. But which one you think has had the biggest impact on their team and moving positions?
Well, boy, I want to say Harper because I like saying he's the best all-around first baseman in baseball right now. But if we're saying biggest impact on a team, it's got to be Mookie, right? Like going to play second base and then at the very last second going to play shortstop, which is borderline unprecedented. I remember at the time I looked into it and I can't remember exactly the way I put it, but it was like 25 guys in the history of baseball have played 100 games both at short and right field, and almost all of them were, Mark DeRosa, Ben Zobrist, utility types, not exactly like position switchers like this. And for him to do it and be a pretty capable shortstop, right? Depending on the metric, he's been slightly above, slightly below, but whatever. He's not embarrassing himself there. He's been pretty good. To be able to do that for his team, where the backup plan was Gavin Lux, who, they clearly didn't believe in him as a defender. He hasn't really hit that much. That is one of the coolest things to me. Like, kind of like I said before with Soto, I didn't think I could be more impressed, right? This is kind of the thing where I didn't think I could be more impressed by Mookie Betts, but to see him do this is unbelievable. And so that's got to have the most impact because you look at the Dodger defense, at least by the defensive metrics, everybody was really worried that this was going to be a wreck, and it's been above average, which is stunning to me. That is one thing I did not see coming this year.
Agreed. Now, from a player who was barely a big league baseball player, I got just over 6 years in the big leagues. And it was because of something exactly like what you tweeted out. The first pitch stat about Grayson Rodriguez is something that I would drool all over. Now, first pitch is just first pitch of the game, so I'll let you explain it. But you're always looking for tells like this, and this is so fascinating and exciting to me that whoever's facing him next has got to already be drooling.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I do some pregame work for the Blue Jays TV station, and so that's who Rodriguez was facing the other night. And I went, and if you don't know this about the Blue Jays, I don't think they changed this last night, but it's been an entire month since they have scored a run in the first inning, which is just obscene. So the other night, Grayson Rodriguez, who's a very good pitcher, is facing the Blue Jays, and I go on the Blue Jays pregame show broadcast to the entirety of Canada, and I say 32 starts for Grayson Rodriguez in his career, regular season. 32 times he has started with a first pitch four-seam fastball every single time. And I'm pretty sure I also said Davis Schneider, who was leading off the game that night. I was like, Davis Schneider, you have to be looking for a first pitch fastball. And if you get one, you got to break this first inning skid. And not only did he get one, you can see here they're kind of all over the place, right? Schneider got one that was a strike, and he didn't pull the trigger. And I couldn't believe it. And I'm thinking to myself, well, they must not
Shame
watch
on him. Shame.
if they would have known that. And they just didn't do it. And they're not aggressive first pitch. Like the Blue Jays have a whole bunch of issues that you guys probably know about. But man, to know that's coming, and you can correct me because I didn't play, but I sort of feel like if I go up there knowing that, and this is the time he throws me a curveball and I swing at it and look like a fool, okay, like you got me. But to let the four seamer go by for time 33, that would kill me. I couldn't do that.
Hey, last thing for me, and we'll let you go. Over, I think, your left shoulder there. What are all those masks doing over there? Yeah, what is going on with that?
He's a hockey guy. Mike loves hockey.
That's hockey guy. We got Oh, you can't really see it, but we got Martin Brodeur over here. Nope, gonna knock the whole thing over. It's artsy. It's cool. I love hockey.
Okay,
Mike's
right.
a diehard Devils fan.
Hey, are you?
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go,
Oh,
baby.
yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
You got Jersey boys here, and obviously there it is.
Go, baby.
Yeah, we got to finish with give us something. You got to give us some nugget, tidbit, restaurant, something from Asbury Park that stands out, or the concert.
Boy, well, first there's a non-zero chance that Todd and I were born in the same hospital in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. I think.
Yes, we were. That's Point Pleasant. 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm from Brick. My first girlfriend was from Tom's River, so I spent a ton of time in your town there. And my first concert, Asbury Park Convention Center, was Green Day in 1998-ish, thereabouts.
When I come around.
Yeah. So that's
very
good.
nice.
My parents still live in Brick. I go there many times a year.
Right down the street. Beautiful. Did you go to Brick High School or Memorial?
Memorial. Yep.
Nice Mustangs. Let's go, baby.
You got the mayor down here. Now you got him all excited. We're gonna have a really good last 20 minutes of this show. Mike, thank you for joining us. Awesome to have you on. Appreciate the time, and we'll catch you soon. Okay.
Right on, guys. Take care.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.